Well, welcome to you and all this evening to September's planning meeting. Just to inform you, there's no fire alarm procedure this evening, so if you do hear it going off, then go out through that door and pipe off down the stairs. Okay, apologies for absence. We have two councillors who are otherwise engaged. Councillor Whitfield, who's at Weston for an executive meeting, and Councillor Aldridge, who is working tonight. Declaration of councillors' interests. In respect to the planning applications, I will say that I have a declaration of interest to make for 1595, that's 43 Nor Road, and 1601, 82 South Road. I know family friends are neighbours of these two properties, and with respect to Glen Orchy, I've known June Brailsford for many, many years, who lives on Battery Lane behind said house. So, round the table, please. What?
No, I'm aware of.
Yeah, I just need to make a declaration that one of the neighbours of Glen Orchy is also known to me.
Okay.
No, I'm aware of. No, not interested.
Okay, thank you. Chairman's report. I have a few items here which I shall rattle through. Brampton Way consultation for highway improvements proposals. We've yet to hear from Ben and Roger, who have, of course, tendered their apologies this evening, so we're no further forward on that one. 4.2, Bristol Airport noise complaint line. Owing to misuse, the facility was discussed at a meeting held by Bristol Airport on the 12th of the 7th. It was decided to remove the facility with effect from the 7th of August. Complaints can still be made online. 4.3, North Somerset Council survey into moving traffic offences and Searle Crescent Weston-super-Mare. Decision on whether to use the powers will be made by council executives this evening. Why is that relevant to us?
Because we could have made a comment about it.
Oh, right. 4.4, temporary closure of Woodhill Road on the 2nd of October. I think this is Wessex Water. The Town Council may have made no objections to the closure. 4.5, appeal against North Somerset Council's decision to refuse planning application 2943, 8 Woodhill Road. No option for the Town Council to submit further comments. 4.6, the Football Club trading licence. That's a temporary trial. The consultation closed on the 4th of September, and the Town Council made no comment to North Somerset Council regarding that. 4.7, the Lakeground Street trading licence for the 9th of September. The Town Council responded to North Somerset Council that it had no objections to the application. 4.8, reconsultation on amended plans for application 2869, that's 254 Down Road. Portishead Town Council returned its objections to North Somerset Council on the 9th of August. 4.9, Lakeground Street trading licence for the 9th of September, that's Sav Super Whippy, and there's a consultation which closed on the 22nd of August. The Town Council made no comment to North Somerset Council on that matter. 4.10, notice was received on that the full extent of Old Mill Road will be temporarily closed for localised footpath patching and general maintenance work between the hours of 7 and 5 a.m. for a period of 5 nights with effect from the 11th of September. So moving on to agenda item 5, which is public participation relating to matters on planning. So you are here tonight. If you just give us your names when you wish to talk, and then we'll obviously have them recorded. Thank you. Would you like to start, one of you?
I'll start. I'm going to stand up if that's okay.
As you wish.
Just so he doesn't put me off. Thank you for inviting us today. So I'm going to speak about the main house.
Yep.
And then Graham will talk about the new dwelling in the garden.
Yeah.
And apologies, but I'm going to read my notes just so I don't miss anything.
No, that's all right.
Can you just give your name for the tape?
Oh yes, sorry. Justine Flower.
So we're talking of the planning application for Glen Orchy, of which there are 2 on the agenda this evening, and they will be discussed in due course. Please carry on.
First off, I'd just like to say thank you, Mike and Emma, for coming to visit, and also Tim previously. I know you found it useful to appreciate firsthand how being lower down the hill, the impact that gives of the development on our house. But I could just set the scene, and then I've got some handouts. So our primary objections are loss of privacy and loss of amenity, and increase in mass and scale. These are all covered by the SPD Protecting Living Conditions of Neighbours, the introduction of which says that it will be used as a basis for giving pre-planning advice to applicants and will form a material consideration in the determination of planning applications. The application for this proposal states that the applicants took no pre-planning advice. Mass and scale, along with living conditions, are also covered by the North Somerset Sites and Policies Plan, Part 1. DM32A states that the design and layout should not prejudice the living conditions of adjoining occupiers through loss of privacy, overlooking, overshadowing, or overbearing impact. And DM38 states that the proposal should respect the massing, scale, proportions, materials, and overall design and character of the existing property. B, not harm the street scene or local area. And C, not prejudice the living conditions of occupiers and adjoining properties. I know you're all aware of that, but just to set the scene, the context of what these are. Also, the recently adopted neighbourhood plan states that proposals should not harm the characteristics of the existing building or the character of the immediate vicinity. And as we're on the edge of the conservation area, should respond sensitively to the transition between the settlement area and the conservation area. So, I'm just going to hand these out. I've got 3 sets. I know you said only 1, but we've made a few amends. So, and nicely, there's 6 of you, so you can
Thank you.
share them. And I'll just speak to each one. So, these are images that taken from the plans that we've photoshopped to illustrate the impact of loss of privacy and amenity and the overbearing mass and scale. So you can appreciate the context of what I'm saying. So page 1 shows the existing and proposed views from the Esplanade. Considering the neighbourhood plans, DM32 and DM38, the character of the existing building has gone. The increased ridgeline, mass and proportions, and agricultural standing seam zinc roof would not be in keeping with the immediate vicinity and would appear incongruous and overbearing compared to the street scene. It should be noted that other proposals for properties in Lake Road have all kept the existing shape and character of the original property and are not incongruous to the street scene. Moving on to page 2. Again, considering the neighbourhood plan, DM32 and DM38, and in particular the SPD Protecting Living Conditions of Neighbours. So this image shows how our whole garden would be completely, it's one bit of the garden, but you can get the impression, would be completely overlooked. We've got a top summer house terrace, a sunbathing terrace, a seating area by our pond, and our rear patio by the side of the house. Seascape would also suffer overlooking from these windows. I note in illustration F, section 2 of the SPD, it has a picture of side windows found looking over a neighbour's garden with a big cross by it. The windows are proposed there. They are bedroom windows, and as you can see, quite large. We feel this would result in a total loss of privacy and amenity in our garden, but also into our rear windows because it's very close, less than just over a metre to our boundary. So you can just literally turn your head and look at the whole garden. We can see no precedent locally for windows overlooking a garden to this extent. Still on page 2, but now considering DM38, mass and scale and overbearing loss of light. The increased mass visible in our garden, you can see the difference there quite clearly. Only just over a metre from the boundary would be, we feel, domineering and oppressive. It would also block the morning sunlight. The existing house, you can see, is staggered back from the boundary, slopes away, and is not therefore that intrusive into our garden. It should be noted that on previous planning approvals for Glenorchy extensions, no windows were allowed at gable height to prevent overlooking of neighbours' gardens, and the gable ends were staggered to reduce the overbearing impact on neighbours. On page 3, this is the same elevation but from our bottom patio by our house. You can see the bit of the old house there, but the impact is the old and the new together, so much bigger. The smaller yellow window, it's a bit hard to depict because it's still in 2D, it actually faces towards the house. And we will look directly into all our rear windows, failing the 45-degree rule. The increased mass visible in our garden would be domineering and oppressive, and using the ground heights in the topographical survey, I've calculated it would tower 12.1 metres above us because of the slope. So very oppressive. Page 4 depicts the proposed flying balcony, which is on the upper floor. The front balcony would have line of sight and therefore loss of privacy into our side-facing south windows. And if the trees, which can't be relied upon for screening, were not there, the rear windows as well. For ship lanes, that's the other side of Glenorchy, there would also be direct line of sight into rear windows from the large windows, as well as the flying balcony. And for ship lanes, this balcony would actually mean total loss of privacy and amenity. It's positioned, if you can see, there's a little blue at the end, the closer end here of the arrow, there's a little blue summer house. Literally, the balcony proposed is right over their summer house and terrace up there. Slightly akin, I feel, to having a lifeguard watching your every move. Page 5 shows the impact on ship lanes, and you can see again it's the same result, loss of privacy and amenity, a massive increase. And also where those two little people are, is you can see it's right over there, the summer house decking. We've calculated from the topographical survey using the different ground heights, this would be 11.9 metres higher than the occupants. Page 6 shows, similarly to our garden, the impact of the east elevation in the ship lanes garden. So there's loss of privacy, overlooking, loss of amenity and mass and scale, overbearing and loss of light. Although the loss of light, given that the sun goes like that, won't be as much in terms of shadow from this. We should note, and the occupants of ship lanes are particularly concerned about this, is that one of the occupants, the owner, Dawn, has pulmonary fibrosis. So she's often house and garden bound and requires oxygen. So she would find the potential loss of amenity of her garden and patio quite stressful, and stress exacerbates her conditions. So the proposals would have a hugely negative impact on her life. Page 7 shows a similar elevation for Courtlands, the bungalow, the next house along. It looks massively big for them. It would be even worse if that hedge was no longer there. So pulling all the above together, we feel that the proposals demonstrate overdevelopment. Coupled with the second application, it would be cramped and incongruous and create undesirable precedents. Now, we are really concerned about these applications, so thank you for hearing me say all that, but we really would appreciate your support and guidance on anything as this process moves forward. Any questions?
Looking at the photograph on page 4,
Yeah.
I presume that that's the garage roof of the.
That's the current
Glenorchy.
garage roof,
Yeah.
yeah. So that would extend basically 3 times
Yeah.
the size
Yeah.
up to the road.
Yeah.
So in terms of outlook, I mean, we can see that at the minute, but that was there when we moved in.
Yeah.
But the rest of the garden forward from that, which is obviously what you look at instead, is a mature, established garden.
Yeah.
Graham will talk about
Would
this.
disappear.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need. There's one thing that I'm no environmentalist or anything, but we've got to remember the environment that we're living in now. The environment has predicted that things like tree screening and that may actually disappear.
Exactly.
Because plants and trees will suffer
Mm.
in the future with the environment changing.
Yeah.
So the point of having lovely green trees that
Yeah.
screen
The
areas
applicants can't
may not
rely.
necessarily
No.
happen in 10 years. time.
Exactly.
When the current people living in Glenorchy, their first act was to cut down all the hedge onto ship lanes and
Yeah.
butcher a couple of trees.
And these are the factors I think that we also need to point out to people. It's not just a case of, oh, we can hide it. 'Cause I think
No,
Yeah,
can't
that's
hide
it.
it. They sort of preempted works
Yeah.
by actually taking things out. I mean, the hedge that they took out below what would be the flying balcony was like this thick, very thick, but was excellent privacy and sound barrier for ship lanes, and it's just gone. So I will put that in my actual.
Yeah, I think it's I live at the back of Western Bigwood. The threat is obviously if that goes up in flames, that's Western Bigwood.
Yes,
which
true,
means
yeah.
we are then unprotected against any storms or anything that comes down.
True.
Right.
Yes, true.
Plus, obviously, our houses are a threat as well.
Any further questions?
Thank you. Thank you.
I will just comment that your photo montage on page 1 is extremely useful because,
Yeah.
of course, this isn't just a private montage that you've made in relation to the rest
No,
of them.
it's-
This is a public view from the other side.
Exactly,
from the
and that's
Esplanade Road.
right around the neighbourhood plan
Yeah,
that says
yeah,
that
exactly.
the Portishead Bay is one of the 4 character areas mentioned, and so everybody sees that, as same as they see the current garden now.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, this is the second part of Glenorchy.
yes, name please.
Graham Flower.
Yes.
I live in Copper Cliffs, but today I've been asked to represent Dawn and Chris, who live in Ship Lanes, as they're flying back from holiday at the moment. So we'll
So what's the
try
name,
to
Dawn?
Dawn and Chris Street. So I shall try to cover both of them. So thank you for the opportunity. We have to say that we're only aware of these plans after they were posted. So again, we've had these neighbours have not discussed anything. They've just when they've not consulted with any planner. Which is anyway. If we turn to the second page, this is the outline of the proposal to go into the garden. Which, as I think you can see, the design of the property will be partially buried in the bedrock because that part of the topography is bedrock. Our house sits on top of the bedrock, and this plan is to dig into the bedrock. It is out of keeping with the character of Lake Road and the recently adopted Portishead neighbourhood plan. And the roof does not fit with the existing architectural style of the road. The plans are slightly deceptive as there's a roof terrace and yet there is no roof balustrade, so there's nothing to show what will be on top of it. If I'd like to turn over to the next one, this now looks at the street scene. Unfortunately, I'm not as clever with the pictures, so not in colour. But I think it shows, again, in the house in the shading in the back is the current Glenorchy, it is not the proposed Glenorchy, so that will be even greater in mass. And what we've done there is shown people standing on the terrace. So our primary objections are basically very simple. Loss of privacy under SPD, protecting living conditions of neighbours. Loss of amenity, basically use of our front garden and terrace. An increase in mass and scale, which is covered by DM13 and CS5, which is rather aptly named garden grabbing. There's no precedent for the approval of a tandem dwelling in the front garden in or around lake grounds. In fact, anything previously has been declined or removed before it got to planning. As you can see, the height of the proposal impacts privacy in bedrooms and living rooms on both adjoining properties, together with their front gardens. It is particularly so for Ship Lanes because they would be looking down into the upstairs bedroom on the side and then down into their living room. So because Ship Lanes is slightly lower than Copper Cliffs, we're a bit higher. The roof of the proposal is about between 1 and 2 metres higher than the current garage. So if I'd like to move on to the next slide, gives you an overview of the plan of the proposal. And again, you can see the red line basically says that the proposed development would require Wessex Water to approve because it impacts the shared sewer, which covers about 4 properties. The owners were in denial about the existence of the sewer, which we kindly pointed out. There was a few manhole covers, and having unblocked them a couple of times, I knew where they were. The development also exceeds the building line by 4 metres. If you draw a line from Copper Cliffs across to Ship Lanes, and then basically the building itself is 4 metres out, exceeding the building line, and then if you want to include the new hanging balcony they're going to have on the front, that would make it 7 metres ahead of the building line, which I think is not a nice street scene. Views from the terrace and windows of the new property breach the 45-degree rule, in particular to Ship Lanes. And the property definitely breaches a 25-degree rule from Ship Lanes, which is where you're looking at, and basically you're just going to see what I call the bunker. So I'd like to move on to the next one. This is looking at the top, the roof, the terrace. Part of it they marked as being potentially green and sort of, but that would of course require even greater depth. I mean, up to 48, particularly where we are with the salt air, to get anything to grow. So that would increase the height again. And where they have drawn the staircase going up to the front, the terrace on the roof of the new thing, people will be able to see directly into our living room and actually into our bedroom because it's higher on Copper Cliffs and also our front terrace. So similarly for Ship Lanes, they're able to look directly into the upper bedroom and ground floor living room. And then moving on to the last slide. This proposal, this is a cut-through view of what they're up to. The proposal requires large excavation of bedrock with the risk of creating instability. We've consulted a local geologist and he has confirmed this could lead to subsidence and slope failure. There are apparently thrust fissures and lead conduits which, if disturbed, could lead to a geotechnical issue. This contravenes CS5 section 3.79 of the North Somerset Core Strategy. And we spoke to this geologist who lives on Blade Grounds. He's retired now, but he said he'd like to come down to see if they start digging into it. But he's worried that the whole thing could there could be some things there which, because bedrock, it's crumbly bedrock. Interestingly, some rock cores were drilled by a company for the owners, but no report has been submitted with the plans. However, this has contributed already to the failure of the water main into Glenorchy, because about a week later the water was dripping through, and the water, that's probably an old lead one, but it's obviously just drilling these. Of course, I can't prove it, but it seems strange that the water main's been there for 50 years and suddenly it starts leaking. So that's being replaced in about a month's time. The narrow plot does not lend itself to any large construction machines. The drive is shorter, it's narrower, it's got walls either side, and the drive going back to Glenorchy, which is about 100 yards, over 100 metres at the back. And I spoke to the local fire officer and he showed me the North Somerset, which says that you need to have at least 4.7 metres. Because you've got to get the van, but not only the truck up, you've got to be able to operate the machinery. And he said, well, that's a concern.
So was that 2.5?
Something, whatever, it's the North Somerset 3.7. 3.7, but it's too narrow for the North Somerset's guidelines. But more importantly, how on earth they're going to get large construction vehicles up there? Lake Road, as you'd be aware, is narrow at this point with limited access and parking, particularly when lake grounds are busy and the Lido is open. So, there will be, I don't know that, but there's some sort of road closure. But basically, those I think are the principal concerns, particularly I say for Chris and Dawn, given that they're slightly lower. I mean, we don't like it because we think our privacy will be severely inhibited. For Dawn, it's horrible. So thank you very much for listening to us.
You're welcome, thank you.
And thank you.
Can I just ask you before you go, presumably any excavation of that bedrock to create this would perhaps destabilise your garage and terrace?
Well, it could do, yeah. I mean, when we moved in, I get the garage on the ground floor and put in. It was a fairly substantial concrete, I understand. But talking to our neighbours on the other side who were around at that time, we weren't, said it was an awfully large endeavour requiring to claw out the bedrock. And this is why the geologist was interested by it. He said, well, there are,
The
You start- you
geologist
you
said
start-
that it could affect all of the houses because all of those houses are built on the bedrock.
So that's obviously a concern.
Did you say there was no structural engineer report on any of this?
Well, but they've had the geologists because we saw the piles and we talked to the guy they had doing it, and they found they're professional. They had a machine that pulled out the cores, but obviously we've not. And I was surprised not to have seen the report in the planning commission. It's a slightly crumbly red rock. If you know Lake Browns, it's a slightly crumbly. When you say bedrock, you think it's granite. It's not granite. It's of great interest to universities who come down each year and chip away a bit of it. So we are concerned, and I think if they decide, obviously they're making their roof 2 meters up between 1 and 2 meters higher than the current one. So if they've got to dig down even further, that would give us even more concern.
Yes, of course.
If anything.
Councillors, any further questions that you wish to ask?
No, thank you.
Well, thank you for making the time. Yeah.
You're welcome,
Would
thank you.
you, and if you want, I've got my notes just in case
Thank
it
you.
would help.
I've had some, but I'm. Thank
Yeah, it's
you.
just a very brief one.
Just in case.
Are you wishing to address council?
If I may.
Yes, come forward and full name, please.
Lynn Morrissey, and I live on Bristol Road. And I wanted to comment about the licensing application for the sort of takeaway service on the Bristol Road fields.
Which was made mention of.
Yes, it
earlier,
was. I believe there is an extension till 6 for comments, which is today. A few of we residents have written to the licensing authority in North Somerset stating our comments and our difficulties and our concerns. So they'll be used at the hearing when they have that. And I'm not sure if it's full council or whether it's just 3 officers. But I was trying to find the town council's discussion on this, on agendas and that, and I don't believe there's been a public discussion.
It certainly cropped up in discussion, and I think the overall view was that it was going to be pretty helpful for the football club, and then subject to the residents and the licensing submission from the vendor, that it would be assessed in over a little period of time. But
Because I see that the town council's put in a no comment.
as I understand, yeah.
thing for it.
Bob.
Did you want to ask something?
Obviously, I've been away for a month because I obviously request some time because I'm busy during the month of August with events and so forth that's going on. I wasn't aware until tonight that actually the council made no comment. I have several concerns with the licensing. I'm concerned that it wants to run from 7:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. To me, that brings a whole lot of other problems and new problems. As you can understand, there is an industrial estate next to it. So to give you an example, Travis Perkins say their staff start at 6 o'clock in the morning. So the chances are that the trailers start early too, which means that those trailers will either use the football club car park or they park their vehicles on Bristol Road, because obviously some of these trailer vehicles are 7.5 ton trucks. So then that will cause problems for Bristol Road itself because it is a tight road already. You also have issues like the children coming out of school. It could be enticing for them to go and have a burger at the takeaway bar. which means that that could then bring them back in at 11 o'clock at night, which could end up being the horrible word which I hate using, which is antisocial behaviour, because as we know, the kids of Portishead tend to move from one area that everyone goes to another. I'll give you a prime example. The police requested for two CCTV cameras to go into the car park at the back of Iceland. One of those was to cover the road. The other one was to cover the obviously McDonald's and the cited van that was already there. So
there's no crossing either to.
No, so obviously it's another concern. To give you an example, litter is also a big concern. Because as I understand it, the owners are responsible for clearing up all litter. Now, if the football club clientele decide to walk out of their huts and with a can of beer and decide to go over and get a a burger, then again, that's another issue with littering, because that's also part of their responsibility, as I understand. I'm also concerned about as the people that are taking on, as I understand, that are actually members of the football club that want to run business, which is a bit concerning, but have they got the experience to run that sort of establishment?
Can I just pick up on something? You talk about traders, plural. Are you expecting there to be more than one vehicle?
Well, yeah, because obviously no, because what I'm talking about is the traders. So the traders that go into Travis Perkins on a day, so you're talking quite a considerable amount of traders. As soon as they know a burger van's there, so the chances are that they're going to park either in the football club car park or park along by the side of the football club, which then interferes with the traffic of Bristol Road.
Okay.
Plus, obviously, it could be a complication for the football club itself, especially if they have an event. My concerns are why does it have to be from 7:30 to 11 o'clock, 7 days a week? Why is it not there for the football events and tournaments? It doesn't have to be there all the time, because I'm not sure if any of you are aware, but these static burger vans licenses are very desirable, and that's one of my concerns. Is it someone looking to make a business and an extra business? Because not only are they going to get the trade from being there for a considerable amount of time during the day, but they're also going to pick the additional trade up of the events that are being held there as well.
Bob, I share your concerns, and in fact I wrote down on this objection that I too felt that there were potential unsocial activities, including increased noises and vehicular movements and litter. And I think one of the other councillors pointed out that this was going to be a good revenue stream into the football club, and there were loads of children playing football, and it was going to be a very desirable thing. Now, I mean, I also agree with you that this is fast food. It's not very healthy stuff to be eating.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not a fan of McDonald's. I hate the advertising that's on the bus stops in the high street. I've made that clear to a lot of people. You've also got to remember that we have 2 new eateries being opened in Portishead, and one happens to be just 600 yards away from this static caravan.
Did you?
Could I just carry on with?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Bob, because Bob's my ward councillor.
Yeah.
It's the noise of the generator. The positioning of where the truck is at the moment is right at the back of our gardens. People aren't being able to open their windows at night because it's operating at the moment, even though they haven't been licensed. The agreement is that they could operate for the football club events, is my understanding, leading up to the license review. So this motor starts up, and although decibel level, I suspect it might not be measured in a sort of a high noise, it is highly annoying. And there's one lady at one end of the terrace that it affects the most, has tinnitus, and she said they'll have to move if it continues to be there, because I don't know if anybody knows anything about tinnitus, but it's just awful. As we go down the terrace, and as I say, some people have written to the licensing thing, and these people are people who will normally complain about things, but won't pick up a pen and paper or wouldn't normally complain. So the strength of feeling is such that the impact on us as neighbours. So if they were to park it somewhere else on the site, away from the residential area, you know, that might be more acceptable. But even so, the number of hours they're opening, the idea that it's helping out the football club, yes. I think there's mixed messages about that, because the football club doesn't operate at 7:30 in the morning.
Is this the time it's turning up at the
That's
moment?
what they're asking for in the
That's what
license.
Oh, in the license, yes, but I mean at the moment, what sort of times?
No, I think about 8ish, because on Saturday and Sunday children come for matches and training, and I guess the idea is breakfast, but as you say, it's not the healthiest thing to be giving active people. But so there's the noise, there's the issue of people hanging around our area who wouldn't normally be hanging around our area if it becomes more of a public thing rather than just for the football club. As it is, we know when the football club operates, and so we kind of know as neighbours that this is what happens, this is when it's happening, and then it stops. But if it's all day, you've potentially got people, there's no toilet, so our concern is, you know, the local hedge, and our children play out there, so there's sort of like a
Have you approached the football club to ask them whether they can shift it into a different position?
Yes, because they had a meeting for the neighbours about their 4G pitch in the clubhouse. They asked us along and they showed us the plans and that, but of course the conversation quickly moved to what about the burger van, which is actually more impactful. As I said, I don't understand it. The chairman and the guy who deals with the money, they kind of said, well, we don't really want it here anyway, but so it's big mixed messages. And I think the fact that it says Bristol Football Club makes people think, well, they're running it, they're getting the money from it, this has to be a good thing, so we'll accommodate it. But it's, as I understand it, as Bob says, it seems to be a private business, which will, yes, benefit the football club from the point of view it will feed their visitors, but we would have to be living with the noise all the time.
Do we know how long it's likely to be?
It's 6 weeks and 6 months, isn't it?
I understood that it was a trial period, but I also understood that it was a case that the unit itself was a necessity in order for them to be able to operate football games there, because their existing kitchen equipment didn't meet the criteria.
And that's
so in order for them to be able to progress with their football matches and the kids in the town and etc., that they had to put a provision in quickly, and that's the provision that they put in.
But I'd like to see that in writing from the
one of my concerns obviously is council obviously provide them with an extended lease. They obviously have been given grants on that, which obviously is the football fields and toilets, as I understand. So my assumption was that they would then concentrate on raising funds to obviously do the buildings. But at the moment, it seems that they're bringing in something else to cover the struggle that they are with food.
It's mixed messages as to whether this is actually being run by the football club, or whether it's a private operator on behalf of the football club, or I don't know. But our main concern as neighbours is that it's moved away from the back of our properties. And it's a little bit like shutting the door once the horse has bolted, because you've already sent your no comment in, which is better for us than an approval.
Looks like you've got a ward issue you're dealing with.
Well, I think obviously I'll work with Lynn and Bristol Road, and I think that the best thing is for us to monitor it and report. You know, North Somerset Council don't give these licenses out lightly. They tend to use people that have got the experience and obviously less hassle, because they don't want to deal with hassle with fixed or mobile eateries. So I think we need to be quite strong with this and monitor it and report.
Yeah.
To be honest, and I'm happy to with Lynn and Bristol Road.
We kind of need parameters. We need to know what the parameters are, though, of what after this. What are we looking for in the 6 weeks? You know, what's permitted, what's not permitted. So I will contact Somerset Licence Group to tell
I've
us.
reviewed some of the licensing rules and regulations, obviously apart from basic health and safety, liability for the staff and the customers, obviously health and safety, so your hand wash and things like that, it should have in. So
Yeah, well, I think my understanding is they've got all the paperwork now. We have asked them to apply for the licence. But we would support the football club having a facility like that, but not on our back doorsteps, basically.
Right.
And within the football club operating hours, not at such silly times. Because once the generator starts up, it's going all the time. And if they move near a clubhouse, they could have electric wiring and a separate unit, which they pay for the electricity separate from. So there are ways around it. But,
That's a good point. Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention this evening. Okay. No, it's no point. Right. Shall we move on then to the next item, which is 6, and that's the minutes of the last meeting. Do we all have a copy of the last meeting minutes? And are we in agreement that I can sign them off as a true record of said meeting? Those of you present?
I was not present here, sorry.
I think we can sign them off.
Oh, I don't have them.
It doesn't make any difference, they weren't present, as long as they had a copy.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a copy,
So we
Fine.
just need a proposer then for,
Oh, yes, proposer for the
Martin.
and the seconder for that. And we're all in agreement, aren't we? Okay.
so Tim second?
Yeah.
And you all agreed, did you, yeah?
Yes, we did. Yes, I forced them to.
Yes.
Right, as you will notice, I've brought the Glen Orkey applications to the top of the agenda, so we can discuss that now and move to further planning applications later. Right, I think we're all in agreement that we object to this.
Yes.
From comments that we've received on both of these applications, so it's just a question of really wording something in relation to it. So before we kick that onto paper, commit that onto paper, comments from the floor. Do we want to go around?
Shall we just steal all your words, put those in?
Yeah, fine.
I think that would be the most common thing.
To be honest, I mean, obviously you
pretty
prepared a
thorough.
very good presentation. I think you've answered.
Excellent,
Do you want, I can email you my notes?
Well, we have to do it now.
Oh,
so,
I
it's,
see.
so it's on the public
Yeah,
record.
my concern is we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to put all those in.
I mean,
per se.
I've written a few things in relation to the house. I mean, we understand that a house from the 60s probably needs updating.
Yes, yes.
But
Are you going to separate these down?
yes,
Simon, or
yes.
you
So
are?
1823,
Okay.
the main house, the old
Okay.
house. We feel it's an obtrusive overdevelopment of the existing property with a consequent loss of amenity to neighbouring properties.
Right, I've got as far as obtrusive, sorry. You feel that is an obtrusive,
Overdevelopment of the existing property with a consequent loss of amenity to neighbouring properties.
Do we need to put the number of properties in that?
I think we can name them, because is it Shiplands, isn't it?
Ship Lanes,
Shiplands.
Copper
Cliffs,
Cliffs,
That's it, proper.
and the one at the rear.
Seascape,
Oh,
Windrush
yeah.
And
Seagate.
Portland's.
Seascape
Portland.
and Portland's.
and
So
Windrush
4,
on,
and then Windrush.
on Battery Lane.
Seascape and
I'm
Windrush.
aware that.
Probably the
Brackenwood-
neighbours, of
all round.
Windrush.
Yeah, yes, they are. I've spoken to both of them, but one is away and the other one is waiting for her son to help her.
I've also written that the proposed building would sit incongruously in its prominent elevated location, particularly with the inappropriate industrial style of zinc roof. It's visible from the lake grounds and neighbouring conservation area, which is contrary to the policies which you've already mentioned,
And
DM37 and the neighbourhood plan, yes, within that, yeah. So,
Sorry, Sharon.
No, I should probably, now you've said it, I'll get it from the tape.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea.
I think there are one or two other policies within
Yeah.
the neighbourhood plan, so I think
Yeah.
we can just combine them and say that it's contrary to a number of policies within the neighbourhood plan. Anything else that we feel in relation to the main house?
Well,
Appearance and character.
yeah, exactly.
There's one thing that we haven't mentioned, because these are obviously most important to us, but the parking, if there's two together, there's not enough parking per the standards.
Parking standards.
Yeah.
We'll make a note of that as well.
Basically, we'll have potentially 6 bedrooms, and we've got for anybody in the future, and they've basically given themselves two
Two
parking
spaces,
spaces.
Yeah.
because
Those
the garage
spaces
is
turn,
gone.
so you'd have to reverse down the drive because of the space right there.
I think I've mentioned to my colleagues about 6 months ago, and I did mention it today on our little chat, is what we've got to remember is we're now charging our cars at home, which means our cars need more
near.
room to park.
That's true.
So that we need to take that into consideration,
true.
especially when we've got conflict with parking off-road.
True. So for the front development,
Yes.
it does have enough. It would just be the house that doesn't.
Yes, in relation to 1824, the front, I've written that again, it's contrary to various aspects of the neighbourhood plan, including DM 37, which is residential development in existing residential areas. And it doesn't meet that. And the infill strategy, it's clearly inappropriate on this site to create a 3-bedroom house, and it would set a precedent. It could potentially set a precedent in this very prominent position on the frontage of Lake Road, where no other dwelling exists currently. So close to the road anyway.
West Winds further along Lake Road tried to put in for a house in their front garden. I don't know if you know, there's the 2 houses set back with a garage like in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a much, much larger plot, and they
Yes,
were told to withdraw that because it wouldn't be on the same grounds, basically.
Yes, I mean, there have been appeals in the past, and I could read out 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, I've got them.
Which are on the website, which are part of the comments in relation to the second application from the Gordania Civic Society.
The applicants have been and spoken to the owners of West Winds, and the owners, they're obviously quite pleased and alerted to the fact that if it gets approved, they would put theirs in again.
Right.
It will be established.
Yeah.
Set precedent.
Yeah. Do we feel there's anything we wish to further add to our objection?
The inaccuracies of the plans
Yeah.
and certain scale, which, it diminishes the size of certain aspects on there.
Size and mass
Yeah.
Yeah.
of development in.
Yeah, and we've only worked it out by looking at the topography report and getting our tape measure out. And also the actual impact of the slope makes it sort of more overbearing.
And I think also this whole geology thing, that's very concerning.
That is very
because
concerning,
can't bring
yeah.
out that amount of bedrock.
Mhm.
Because it's saying older properties were allowed to be built on top. Now they have to go beneath the bedrock. It's crumbling.
I'll have to say I'll have to get it from the tape.
You could also add that councillors also notified that geologically it could be unstabilising the neighbouring property. Okay, we feel we've covered that.
So,
Can I have a proposer then for the objections on both those?
Yeah, I'll propose that.
Tim, seconded by Paul. All those in favour of objections on both applications?
Both applications.
Lovely. We put the same comment in with exception to the parking for the house. Yeah, for both.
Yes, I mean, it's certainly going to
Same
compromise
comments.
that. In relation to parking?
No, not
So
parking.
the
That's the only
house-
exception, isn't it?
Yes.
It got sufficient parking for the garage, but
There's-
not for the house.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And also, if there's going to be a large number of bedrooms and a lot of occupants for the main house, the traffic going up and down that drive, it would be going right by the new dwelling.
I don't think you want to live in
Did you read that out for 1824?
Oh, really?
Because if you haven't, you need to read it out.
The road itself isn't good enough to
bits of
take
it,
it.
yeah.
Never mind the drive.
No.
I'll finish that
I
then.
think I
I'll
covered
finish
it.
that then.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
I mean, you, both of the dwelling things together, both occupants of those two properties would have diminished lifestyle because they're both going to see each other and it just seems
It's obvious why they wanted the flying balcony on the second floor of the house, because otherwise
The ground
their
floor.
view would be, or their, what's their
Would only
garden?
be the
Yeah,
garage.
just to even look over the
Conversion.
top. So, to me, it's just development for development's sake. The owners apparently live in America 6 months of the year, and they do developments in Utah, and I think they're a bit shocked that the laws of America are a bit different in terms of planning. If you own the land, you can do what you like. So I think that's, which probably explains some of why what looks to us as arrogance is actually
just how they do it.
it's just that they don't know.
We shall see.
We just say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming
Thank you
along.
very much for the time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.
You better sleep tonight.
I don't know, it's too
Oh.
too hot. Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sharon, if you could email me all the reasons, then when I call it in, I can use them all.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I'll send you a copy. I'll send you a copy.
Excuse me.
He's going to sneeze.
Go on. Oh, it didn't go.
What, sorry? Right, moving on. 43 Knoll Road. And I have declared an interest because I know the people that live at the back, which is elevated above. And they overlook said property. I have no objections to this. Yes, it will affect their view a little bit, but in some respects it will mitigate the view they currently have looking down onto the dentists. It'll block some of
I
that.
agree with that. I've got a good look as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's too intrusive, is it?
No, I don't think so, no.
There was a couple of comments that have been made online regarding privacy glass, which has been requested because of overlooking.
Which side?
Where would the privacy glass go?
Wait, let me get it back up.
As you know, I mean, you can't get any closer to the Knoll Road than this property. So to make quite a substantial investment in it is clearly a sign that they enjoy living there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, but if they're living there, that changes things, doesn't it? If we're looking at Orsi Road here, we're looking at developers, aren't we? That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there's four objection comments that have been made online.
I haven't looked recently, to be honest, so I don't know what these are.
The first objection really is that it would potentially spoil the outlook, that the early appearance of the very old original building would be affected. There's consistent comments regarding the conduct of the work and access to a shared driveway, because there doesn't appear to be an access statement along with the development.
I think in mitigation on that point, other properties along that stretch of Knoll Road have had extensive works done, and it's been parking in the street, and so it inconveniences motorists. Well, there's no alternative really.
No.
Yeah, okay. Let me just go down until I
So off the road?
So this is the next door neighbour objection. There's a number of objections through the plan that the actual applications were only received on the 12th of August and they were dated the 3rd of August, so have not given any of the respondents the full 21 days to reply and assess the impact.
Okay.
There's trees missing from the arboricultural report, and screening which has not been taken into account. And the proposed design with 2 further second floor windows will face property, 1 a bathroom and another study is detailed on the design. And we would hope that to not further infringe any privacy, that it is granted, it would at least be granted to suggest frosting to allow no further overlooking. The question as to whether the enormity of the proposed extension is potentially overbearing and out of scale, and appropriate for the historic look of the building. The original coach house was a hotel. Effectively, the giant wood-clad shipping container at the back would harm the aesthetics of the original stone building. The track, which is owned by a third party between the properties, is accessed and situated behind, and it is noted on the plans that this lane is noted as one of the parking areas, with the other parking, because of the number of bedrooms, being actually Nor Road itself.
Well, as far as I'm aware, the parking that they use on the side, on the lane, is tucked in quite tightly to the property, and it doesn't affect the lane at all. The building itself has never been used as a hotel. The hotel was Hotel Como on the top of the hill. And are the objections coming from the adjoining property on Nor Road, Lumley Lodge?
Number 41, number 45.
I'm just a bit surprised because I wouldn't have thought they would see it. But anyway, it's...
Yeah, there's 1 supporting, 3 objects. Sorry, not 4 objects. 1 supporting, 3 objects.
Okay, so that's objections from 41, 45 you say?
What does the committee wish to do about this?
I think it deserves another look, I think, doesn't it?
Well,
We can't extend it.
Just can't.
Yeah. The objects were for 41.
Yeah.
There's no mention of the other number on the objects.
Okay. I'll just leave it as 3 objections.
So 41 is the other side of the lane. I can't see how they're going to get impacted by that. Anyway, I personally don't have an objection to this application, so do we have contrary views on that?
I was going to say, did you want to table your proposal of no objection, see if you have a second, and then take a vote, and then...
I will propose no objection.
Is there a
Do I have a seconder for that?
I will support that.
Can we take a vote on that then? No objection.
That's
I would
1,
just say
2.
that,
3 of us.
yeah,
Who's the third?
Take into consideration the public's comments.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If that's possible, Sharon, just to take into account that any.
No objection, but notes.
Yeah, I think even 41 it's sort of like a slight object, but not object. It's like, can we do that and can we do this?
Yeah. So taking into account the requirements for privacy glass where noted or deemed necessary.
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
So which house number was that?
41.
For privacy class, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that going to affect them from there?
That's why we say if required, really, I think. Yeah.
Right, so that was a vote of 3. Did you actually?
Are you happy with that in the end, Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so what about you, Tim?
Yeah, twist my arm.
All of you?
Okay, right.
Okay.
So the next one is 1601, 82 South Road.
I'm so sorry. There's one more thing on that. There's a report of a requirement of a bat license because it will destroy a roost, the extension.
Is it?
Yep.
Where's the roost?
In the
Well, that actually would be unlawful for them to do anything like that. That's just not a planning material thing. That's unlawful.
bat roost surveys of 43 Nor Road. The proposed first floor extension will destroy the brown long-eared bat roost identified in the southern single-storey section. We identified a common pistral roost in the northern elevation of the 2-storey section, which will not be directly impacted. A bat licence must be obtained from Natural England ahead of any works that may negatively impact bats. Although we do not consider further surveys required to inform the planning application, an additional dusk emergence or dawn re-entry survey is recommended prior to the bat licence.
And that was on the 13th of July.
July. Sorry. Put that up
I
again.
didn't note that one.
No, yeah.
The appropriate licensing procedure in this instance is site registration under bat mitigation licence, bat mitigation and compensation measures to protect bats from harm and provide roosts are detailed in the summary report. So they are saying that they'll need to from this report anyway, it looks like
So what number was that? The where the roost is? Sorry, Emma.
the roost is in 43,
43.
which
43.
is the premises,
Okay, yeah.
which is to be developed, yeah.
Oh, well, thanks, Emma, for bringing that to our attention.
So did you want to stay with no objection, but notes the request from 41 for privacy screens to be used and a comment relating to a bat roost and survey for number 43? Are you happy? But you have no objection subject to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go with the same proposers and all that? Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
No,
It's got to be right. Because once the meeting's closed, you can't go back on it. So
Right, fine, thank you very much. 1601, 82 South Road, proposed demolition of the existing shed and erection of a single-storey rear extension, front porch extension and raised rear decking with external stairs. I don't have any objection. Yes, I do know the next door neighbours, and they seem, I think, happy about it.
Yeah, no objection.
Proposer, please. Bob?
Bob.
Seconder? Martin? All in favour? Thank you.
Down 20 years, 34 years ago. Okay.
1405, 32 Fedden Village, proposed replacement of one set of double glazed patio doors to the ground floor bedroom on a like-for-like basis. No objection.
No,
No
yes,
objection, no.
I propose that. Martin, Bob seconded it. already.
okay.
Unanimous. 1645, 2 Newport Close, proposed loft conversion and raising existing ridge heights. Installation of 2 dormers and Velux roof lights to the front elevation and 1 flat roof dormer to the rear elevation. I don't like this. As you may have noted in my notes, this is the first of this type of development on this estate, which dates from the 70s. The 2 front dormers are acceptable. The increased roof height is sort of okay-ish because of its slightly set down position, but I don't like the rear dormer, but this is a subjective opinion. I think it's ugly and it does nothing to enhance the roof. And the bulk of the building, it becomes, in my opinion, it becomes top heavy and doesn't sit comfortably with the neighbouring properties, because this will be setting a precedent. It's quite possible that this could happen on other properties around.
We need to be obviously aware of things that are happening across the UK situation.
Exactly. I appreciate that this is, and you, as you well know, it's not the first dormer application on this agenda. I accept that more and more people are moving into their roof space and utilising it. But I think they could tidy up that rear dormer.
But I do agree with you that it could set precedents for the whole.
By design, isn't it? It's just,
Yeah, it's
I'm sure they can do
it's ugly.
it is.
Yes, Emma.
My note from sort of looking at the elevation, I think that there's possibly a 45-degree issue with the extension because of the elevation of the road heading down.
Mhm.
And I don't know what the number is, but it's these houses down here. So going up on the extension and then down, I would imagine that you're probably going to have view straight into what I think is number 11 there. Which is that house there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. As noted by Sharon, yes.
Yeah.
Good. And if you go round the back of it, Bob, if you can.
On the back of it.
Yeah, go up the cul-de-sac.
upwards.
Yeah. I think, and then look back. So go up that way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Because it's this one here, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's this one.
That's
Here,
it.
yeah.
this one and this one.
So go up a bit further and then swing round. I think you'll get a sighting of it. whilst it's screened a bit by those trees, it will be pretty prominent. I think it's going up about 1.2 metres, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you're up here,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna,
you're talking at least the height of the
The aerial.
aerial.
so you're gonna be up there and you're gonna be
Yeah,
straight down. So
Yeah,
there's
you're
no
gonna be
comments
looking
by the other residents. There's nothing else that's been submitted online, but
Are we in agreement that aesthetically that rear dormer is just not in keeping?
Yeah, absolutely.
so is that, yeah, because that could be one of the, to gain the height of one, isn't it?
So
Gain-
overall,
gain the view.
I'm proposing an objection
Yeah.
on the grounds of,
Yeah.
Tim seconded it and we're all.
Grounds of the rear dormer, yeah?
Yes, the increased roof height is going to accentuate the rear dormer, which in the view of the committee was an ugly addition to the roof, would be too prominent in the neighbourhood.
Let's get that
And
on
the
the table.
45 degree because of that.
And there's also the issue of the 45 degree in
potentially
relation to
you just need to be checked.
properties down below. Okay,
So who was seconding that?
Yeah,
Tim.
I'll second it, yeah.
Tim? Okay, lovely. And are all happy with that, yeah?
yes. So 1646, units 1 and 2, ground floor, 2 Harbour Crescent. That's a change of use from commercial units into 7 dwellings, 1 and 2 bedroom flats. This is outside the proposed employment parameters within the neighbourhood plan. I don't object to it. I think this is a good first step for starter homes. And I think it's a good use of space, the way it's been internally designed.
Yeah.
So I have no objection. I propose that. Martin seconds it. Are we?
Yeah, on the basis that it wasn't, that was my only question
Yes,
as
I
to whether it
noticed.
was actually covered within that sort of segregated area of the,
Yeah.
what was it, plan, but, yeah, it's, you know.
I mean, they tried marketing it for a year, haven't they?
Yes,
without
yeah,
success.
yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
we're in
I
agreement.
think that's going to.
Okay, all in favour, yeah?
All in
We're all in
favour?
favour, yes. 1771, 1 Brendan Road. Non-material amendment to application for the extension on the south elevation.
So this is just around the corner from me, sort of literally, and the only thing I think that we need to take into account is a build and access report. The extension itself is right on the fence against where it currently, there's a single story extension and it's going up to, it's right against the fence, and the fence has got that butts up against the access road garages at the rear. For 3 weeks running now, the recycling lorry has not been able to get round Brendan to pick up anything. So delivery of materials is going to be, you know, essential really, I guess, for
Yeah.
that scale of build.
Why hasn't the recycling lorry been able to get
Park
around?
cars, there's no,
Yeah, you can see
yeah,
it. You can
there's-
see how narrow this road is.
there's no park cars. So we for the last 3 weeks, Brendan has not, they've not had their recycling
I
collected
see.
for that length of time.
I
So, and this is the access here, and the house there, in effect, has got the, if you can swizzle around there and see it, but that's, the extension is going to literally butt up against that fence, and there's no room for scaffold. I don't know.
Do your
Obviously,
comments form an objection, or are you
Yeah,
minded to accept that this is, again, an extension which a lot of people are doing these days and is sort of
Well, it
acceptable?
is, so I mean,
Can they get the lorry down that lane?
No way. No.
not just,
I used to go down that lane because that used to be the way home when I was a kid, when I was a childhood.
You might get a Fiat 500 down there.
No, it's surprising it's quite wide.
It is a normal car width lane,
Yeah.
but it's where would the scaffold, I'm not a builder, so I don't know how, but how you would go up those 2 stories there.
well, but they probably get it in.
No,
bangs still,
you would get a scaffold if you need it
Yeah.
down there.
So you do you think there should be a design and access statement to
Definitely.
cover the building?
Yeah.
So
Also
I would
looking at
say
it,
that. Apart from that, I don't see it. Yeah.
Are you proposing that as a form of a no objection, or do we approve this subject to,
Subject to, I would say.
which would be my view.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I thought we approve it, subject to
Okay.
that statement, I think.
yeah.
Okay.
It's subject to access.
So there's no objection subject to a suitable.
Suitable, yeah,
Access
access.
statement.
Yeah.
Access statement, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I mean, there's nowhere to,
No, there isn't.
front garden would have to store the building
Hmm.
material, it would, you know, you couldn't deliver anything to be left at roadside there. There's, it's just not, it's
So-
not feasibly possible.
Proposed by me, seconded by Martin, and we're all in favour of that.
Yeah,
aren't we?
yeah.
So is this a drop here?
Yeah.
So there's a drop.
It drops
on the side,
into,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
in the building, yeah.
1754 75 Nor Road, another dormer up into the roof space, tucked in behind the two chimneys. I don't think it's a listed building, but it is obviously fairly prominent. It's one of the pair. I don't object. It's, yes, partially visible from the street insofar as you'll get the side view of it. And it's set back from Nor Road. And again, it's something that's happening frequently.
Yeah.
No objection.
No objection from there.
Is that a second in it, Martin?
Yeah. Okay, we're all in favour.
All in
of that?
favour with no objection?
We are.
We're
Hang
just
on, let me
checking on comments, I don't believe that there was any earlier.
I didn't spot any.
No, I don't see any.
So, item 8 on the agenda is late planning applications. I think
You are-
Dorothy's
I
gone
think
now,
she wants
hasn't
to
she?
wait.
Okay,
No, that's fine.
Okay,
that's fine, yeah.
no, that she's cleared off there.
Dorothy's gone,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 75 we're agreeing on, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
no
are,
objections,
yeah.
Okay.
We have item 8, which are the late planning applications, one of which we've dealt with. 1768, Unit 30, Portishead Business Park, Old Mill Road. Internal alterations. Anything impacting Old Mill Road? I mean,
Not Old
Old Mill,
Mill Road, I mean, you know, we're all wondering what's going to happen to Old Mill Road in the future, and I think any investment has got to be a positive, not a negative.
I would have thought so.
Yeah. Is it internal? There's some alterations outside to make sure that people can get that, but that's it really. It's-
yeah, fine.
Is that an objection then, or?
Propose.
Yep.
Martin second again. No objections.
Oh, okay, so that's
Who gave GTI or the consent to use one of the units as a lorry park? I mean, that was just mad. Have you seen where they park on a Friday night? They're all over the place.
But at least the
So all in
area
favour of that, no
Yes,
objection then?
yes.
Lovely,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, Sharon.
Um, 1794, 96 Nor Road. Proposed full renovation of existing property works to include infill extensions and the single-storey rear extension with balcony above. This is just next to St. Nicholas's Church. I didn't object. I looked at the plans fairly extensively. I felt that it's mostly at the back, the rear, the decking and the new terrace. I have no objection to this. Any comments, committee?
I've not got a problem with that.
No, I've got no personal objections. I'm just going to check if there's anything, no related comments online.
Any?
Second there?
You?
Bob?
Okay, all in favour, yes. 6 Slade Road, proposed erection of a canopy porch at front elevation and a new front driveway to include hard standing. Here it is.
What, you want me to object to that?
Well, I've been round twice to see the neighbour.
Yeah.
I can't work out where this tree is, whether the tree is going to go or stay. It's right on the boundary. It would be a sad loss if it goes. It's a bit of a sad loss that they're planning to remove all the garden with this rather
Not without
designer feature.
Not without precedent though on the road, is it?
It's not.
Even next door's got.
Exactly, yes. So I can't feel there's any ground for objection from me.
Especially if
But I do have concerns about the tree,
There's
but they
no-
were out. Twice I went around yesterday and they were out.
No, agricultural.
Do any other comments from anyone?
Checking.
The plan doesn't show any. It's all very hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard, but it's also
More water runoff into the street and blah blah blah.
There's no, it doesn't appear to be any tree reports or anything on there. It is noted in green on the plan.
The tree. Okay, so the tree stays.
Try and zoom in a bit more. Native tree planting and steps. So on the right hand side of
Yeah. Yeah, so the tree will still be there. It's on the
no,
right, or is it on your right?
yeah, it's not on
Opposite side, isn't it?
it's opposite side, native tree. So I think it's been put in the
Okay,
plan in the wrong place.
all right, okay, well,
It's just noted as hedgerow in between 6 and its adjoining neighbour.
That's correct then. So it's
Yeah,
on
but
the
the tree's been noted as
left.
there.
Right.
Right.
oh well, if the tree is retained, then it's a bit better.
It's a bit bland, I do agree. but
Yeah. Anyway, and the canopy's a bit odd anyway. Right. Propose, no objection.
Yeah.
Yeah, seconded
Who
Emma.
seconded Emma? Thank
Yeah.
you.
All in favour, yes.
Yeah.
Right, so 1858, 14 Grafton Lodge, Battery Lane, retrospective. Oh, why do people do this? I've not been around to look at it, I have to
Is this
admit.
late planning application?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather leave that one to go with.
Do you want to try and get a time extension for it?
Some
Or do
extension on that one, please.
you want to get a time extension on it? Or?
Yeah, fine, I mean, there's nothing much probably we can do about it
So
now.
what is that plan? Because I've not seen that one.
I think both neighbours on each side
Right,
have said they welcome it, what they're doing there. I think it does change the outlook of the house. Yes, it does. I did look at the plans, yes, and it doesn't look bad at all, to be honest.
I've only got one other time to get one apart from, is that Beach Road as well, Become Beach Road?
Sorry, did you want a
Yeah, time
Ah,
This is
extension.
Battery Lane.
Do you want a time extension? Do you want to request a time extension for this one, for Grafton?
So it's retrospective application for the creation of raised parking and landscaping alterations off Battery Lane, proposed demolition of existing front porch, erection of an infill extension, single-storey rear extension, first floor extension, proposed conversion of merging existing 2 shed roof dormers into 1 flat roof dormer, roofing alterations to create 1 new gable, creation of 2 raised valleys at the east elevation, and placement of 3 sets of solar panels. Fenestration alterations on all elevations, including replacement and alteration of windows and doors.
Right,
Tim, it's in your patch. I mean, you might want to check it out.
Yeah.
I've looked at them and I didn't feel it was much of an issue. And as I said, I don't know how far they've
So
gone down the road
Are
of
we
doing
agreeing
this
on
stuff.
an extension on this one?
If that's what you wish and
I
you're proposing
I
it,
think I would propose it. And I
Both
think it's
public comments are in support,
yes.
yeah.
Both neighbours,
adjacent
aren't
neighbours.
they? Yeah, that's right. So Bob's making an extension, Martin's seconding it.
Right, okay,
We're in
so-
favour of it, an extension on
Okay,
that one.
request a time extension.
Yeah. That's it then, isn't it? Because the tree.
The TRCA is not a statutory consult.
So we have to go through the consultations,
Mm.
the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy, the Sex Establishment Licensing Policy Review. Did anyone read that one? No, so we're all at a loss as to what that was all about. And the Clevedon Seafront and Hill Road Independent Review, which we know is ongoing.
Sorry, so you're not making any comment about that then?
What, the Sex Establishment Licensing Policy Review? I've not looked at it. Has anyone else? What's it all about? Have you looked at it?
No, we've got until the 6th of October to report any comments in, which I guess we will do.
On your next
The
meeting?
next meeting is actually on the 6th, isn't it?
So you won't have any
No, it's on
time?
the 4th. Yes, we can. Yes, we'll bring it to the next,
Yeah, we'll bring it.
next
Bring
meeting.
it to the next
So
meeting?
I want you all to read the Sex Establishment Licensing Policy Review, please,
We will.
by next meeting.
And the Hackney carriage and private licensing is the same deadline as well.
Yes,
so,
yeah,
to
good
do
thinking,
that,
right. And the last one then is the application for a disabled bay on South Avenue, 4 South Avenue, which, as you can
Can't
see,
problem with that at all.
I approved.
Doesn't affect anybody, doesn't,
No,
you know.
I'm always in favour of disabled
their
private
vehicle is already parked there.
I
So,
think-
no objection then?
No objection.
Who's that, you, Mike?
I proposed, yes.
Unless there's some extreme
Emma seconded it.
circumstances,
You did?
I'd never
Emma.
know.
And you were all happy with it, yeah?
So-
Can I just check what happened with the T's and C front though?
Well,
Right.
online questionnaire is until the 25th of September. I presume we're all entitled to comment.
So you're not going to, don't want to comment as a town council then?
I don't know, do we? I have no objection to what exists there at the moment. But a lot of people do, but I don't live there.
No, it's difficult, isn't it? I think they could have spent their money more wisely, but that's,
I don't see they could, because they overspent, didn't they? I mean, I like what they've done in Hill Road. I think Hill Road
well,
works.
that's good, yeah.
The road's okay, the seafront
I
is
think-
just stupid.
I think the main consideration of
It's
the
the stupidest
seafront
thing
is
ever.
where the business is. I mean, what's his name from runs a tiffin? I mean, his takings have gone down by 60%. I mean, that's a lot.
So
It's all right, the moon and sixpence, but
are you okay if we put discussed, but as it's not in the parish, you're elected not to comment? You happy with that?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Good thinking. So, item 10.1, the planning application is not requiring consultation. Do we have to go through those, or we
No, just note them.
Did anyone read the documentation related to the branch line? There were 70 documents, and I did look through them because I have a
It
haven't
was
seen those.
very interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting. It was all the hydrology reports in relation to drainage and this, that, and the other. But it was sectioned on each section of the line, right through to Parson Street Junction.
We actually look at it.
contaminated land and
What's that? Are
groundwater.
we actually gonna get
Yes,
what?
I think this is all very, very favourable.
Good.
What are we getting? What are we getting?
A new
Railway.
railway.
No.
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
No, it's
You
not.
doubt that.
You little nugget.
What, jump on
Well,
the bike? I'm like,
we'll be on the first train.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you'll just have to run behind.
What,
Well, exactly.
like I've said to a million different people, it's not the train that worries me, it's what it brings that might worry me.
What do you mean, more litter and unsocial
No more
activity?
development.
We're going to put that then.
Let's just wait and get the train back.
Yeah, but
first.
I'm all for the train.
Provided I get my sculpture back in the car park, I'll be happy.
Okay, well, that's brings that to a conclusion. You just need your meeting to note the decisions.
Yeah.
You've noticed the decisions that have been made on the
Noted.
back.
Okay.
So the meeting closed at
Oh,
8:55.
nothing for next month?
Oh, matters for the next meeting. No? What?
We've got 7 hours.
Take planning applications and consultation. I mean, you've got a few spin-offs, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Sex
okay. I'll add
establishments.
those then, yeah.
Hackney carriage.
It's something like a Saturday.
And you've noticed the next meeting's on the 4th of October.
Yes.
Thank you, councillors, for attending tonight.
Hey.